This is the Average to Savage podcast with Paul Guarino. Everyone and anyone, athletes, celebs, and much more.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Average Savage podcast. Our special guest today is Sophia Chang. How's it going?
Hi, I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on. So let's just go back in time. How'd you get started originally just doing artwork?
I was an only child and I was really bored all the time. And we didn't even have cable. I had pretty strict Asian parents, so school all the time. But yeah, it was just honestly boredom, and I'm sure I had ADD when I was growing up, lots of energy. And drawing was just what I had available to keep myself entertained. So I've been drawing for as long as I can remember, just to honestly ease my mind, just because just didn't have much going on. And so, I actually started to pursue, I always had this dream when I was throughout elementary school. I wanted to become a fashion designer. I would have one of those black and white med notebooks all the time. I was that kid and always had these drawings in it. I guess you would call it a sketchbook. And then when I actually had to apply for colleges, my dad comes from a family of engineers, so there's a lot of pressure there. And typically for Asian Americans or Asians, period, it's always like be a doctor or a lawyer. And so I actually didn't get into a lot of schools except art schools, ironically. And so, it was through my undergrad years at Parsons School of Design where I actually learned about the professional side of the creative fields and what's available. Like, you can actually build an entire career from drawing, like if I like doodles, cool, dope, but like you can actually put it on tote bags, you can do it for advertising, you can design book covers, and you just start to see this whole world, the world around you in a completely different scope, especially growing up in New York City where there's just like images and ads everywhere. You're like, damn, like I could actually make that. And I grew up loving sneakers and streetwear. So there's a lot of kind of crisscross between, street art, graffiti, growing up, taking the train all the time. And it was just this colorful, lively place. And I felt like there was a space for me in that.
Yeah. Now I know you went to college too. Do you think, do you think college is the right fit for artists?
Well, Parsons, let me tell you this. Parsons was a private school. It was extremely expensive. And there was a ton of very rich kids who were in the school who were really just looking for the easy way out because mom and dad have money. They don't have to worry about it anyways. And everyone has this dream of being a fashion designer. Granted, I don't think everyone is cut out for school. I know that if I, probably followed what my parents wanted me to do, like become a doctor or lawyer, I'd be really bad at it and completely fail in that arena. I think so. Like I'm not wired that way. It's just not who I am. And, I have a lot of peers that fell into the pressure of what their parents wanted them to do. And they're, quite frankly, a lot of times unhappy when they get into their late 20s, early 30s, because it's not where their heart is. And they're just this drone robot going into work every day. But, if there is anyone who's listening that's interested in pursuing the creative arts, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a business. So you can be a doctor, lawyer, you can be an accountant, you can be a small business, you're more so a small business owner than anything, but you need to get your hustle and your business right. So you need to understand, you can be a great artist, that's your product, that's your service, but at the end of the day, do you know how to talk to clients? Do you know about client acquisition? Do you know about your customers and your audience? Or do you have your branding straight digitally on social? If you have a podcast, like all that kind of stuff, you have to have that in place. You have to have your ducks in a row and you have to come correct, and if you don't, there's a reason why you'll be falling behind some of your competitors. So it's not just, being an artist, getting an education. That's just like the first quarter of it. There's so much more. It's the first few innings. This is a baseball thing. But yeah, there's a lot more to it. And a lot of it is also just like not failure, but just making your share of mistakes and making sure you're smart and learning from it as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like I had a kid doing some graphic designs for me that was like 18, and and he was talking about college, and I was just like I don't think you need to go to college if you could already do stuff like this, and you could go
Yeah,
intern at a place and work your way up.
you can do School of YouTube. You can do
Yeah.
plenty of internships. I mean, I have to say, I learned a lot from my internships. I learned a
Mhm.
ton from my
Yeah.
internships that I didn't learn in school with my professors. But I also had amazing access because of college.
Yeah.
So I was in the library all day, every day. I was in the library reading these books, these art libraries, these art books that I typically probably wouldn't have access to if I just went to my local library or, Barnes and Noble and whatever. But there was that. And what else is there? Equipment. The schools have really good technical equipment that I may not have been able to afford on my own. And
Hmm.
so that allowed me to explore and just mess with different a lot more. So I just made sure I note every single day, every single hour that I had within 4 years of undergrad. I made sure I was not idle. I wasn't
Hmm.
checking around at college parties, doing any of that. I was like, no, you guys can do that. I'm out here trying to win because when I graduate, I'm competing for the same tricks as everyone else. And I was lucky enough where my parents were able to support me. So I'm like, I have to make something out of myself. Failure is not an option. So y'all go do what you want to do. I'm gonna stay focused.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Where does that like motivation come from?
I think there's I think that,
Yeah.
definitely being around your peers, seeing what they're doing. I think a lot of it too is just heart and passion and creativity. Like I said, I saw a place for myself when I started to see the world around me a little bit different when it came to the creative arts as a professional field. Um, and I was really open to learning. So the internships allowed me to learn a lot as far as what I wanted to do, what I didn't want to do. So I interned as a fine artist. I interned at Complex Magazine, Complex Media, designing. I learned how to design magazines because of an internship. And it's literally internships are so key because it's like a classic teach a man how to fish and they'll eat for the rest of their lives. Like through my internships, I learned how to design websites. I learned how to design magazines. I have a 7-year long publication that I'm still working on because of those skills that I acquired. And I think a lot of it is just a New York hustle and probably sprinkle some ADD in there too. It's like, why stay still when you can keep moving? I have this mentality and I've always been this way of like, I want to go to sleep every day knowing that I made the most out of every day. Whether it's even if I'm hanging out on the couch, relaxing, I know that's me winding down, resetting for what I'm going to be accomplishing for the week.
Hmm.
And I think just being in New York as well, like everyone's just trying to one up each other. And I find it to be healthy. And I like to be around people who are constantly raising bars. And
Hmm.
I'm always looking to raise my own bar. I think I enjoy that challenge. And, I want to be able to, just like how other people have inspired me to raise my own bar, I want to be able to inspire others. And so it's just like this really cool ecosystem and cyclical situation but it's not even like raising each other's bar. We're also just cheering each other on as well. Like
Hmm.
my health and wellness publication called Undo Ordinary, got me kind of helped me carve out the health and wellness voice within the creative industry. And if you've ever been to a marathon or cheered on a friend that went to a marathon, you're just cheering strangers on who are competing and doing these amazing things. And I think that's what I enjoy the most out of it, just the hustle of it.
Gotcha. Yeah, and going back to what you were discussing before, like business, like how did you know, or like how did you figure out to, start your own business, like get LLCs, like do your taxes, get everything like that?
I mean, that was pretty organic. So, I interned all throughout college. I also worked. And then when you graduate, you're just out here trying to win with everyone else.
Hmm.
So it was competitive, but at the same time, it's like, you're exploring LLCs, you're exploring S corps to see what fits for you. Everyone has an LLC, so they just assume an LLC. And a lot of it is just educating yourself, talking to other people. I mean, you might have friends that studied or majored in accounting. So can you tell me how I should be setting up my business, right? Like,
Yeah.
and then they'll ask you a little bit about your business and help you figure out what works best. And sometimes people lead you in the wrong direction, and you're just gonna have to take the L on that and figure it out from there. But it's all an entire learning experience. And I think a lot of people act like sheep and they just gravitate towards an LLC because they think that's what you need to be. But you know, there's a lot of options out there for different purposes, depending on the size of your business as well. If you start growing and you start having to pay other people, is it payroll? Is it W-9? Like, you got to know all this stuff. That's why I was like, being able to draw and do cute stuff like that is just the beginning. You have to learn to run a business.
Yeah, I think that might be the problem too sometimes, just because I think people just don't know how to do it. Like, they know how to do the design part.
No one knew how to do it. No one, I didn't know.
Yeah, no, neither
Like,
did I.
that's the thing that people get. Like, this shit doesn't just pop up in your head.
Yeah.
You don't just know. You're lucky if you grew up with parents that are in that, who are maybe small business owners themselves, so you may have watched them struggle and figure out how they did stuff, but no one knows. You have to figure all of this out. I had to apply for a sales license or a tax whatever. I was like, a sales tax thing in different states. And I was like, I didn't know you needed to do that. It's like, yep, government wants to take a little bit of everything you make and you got to make sure you're registered. So yeah, you learn as you go.
Yeah, definitely. That's why like, I watched some of your other interviews and I can just like relate to some stuff. And especially when you were talking about your when people ask you like what you do, you were like, it's hard to tell them or stuff like that, because then you don't know, they don't understand it. And that's how I feel like all the time. So like, sometimes I don't even tell people anymore. I don't even feel like explaining it.
Yeah, but that's also bad too. Like, very stressful. And then before you know, you're thinking about all of it in your head and you haven't said anything for like 30 seconds. And you're like, now this is even more awkward. So yeah.
Oh yeah, I saw you did a TED Talk too. How'd that come about?
Honestly, I just got hit up with that opportunity. It was really cool. It was very intimidating because obviously it's TED. And I was really exciting. I honestly started doing public speaking very early on in my career when shortly after I graduated. But the weird thing is I hated doing that. And I was always very, very self-conscious and very uncomfortable with it growing up from, within an academic space. I think I just got over it when I realized I have to stop trying to talk like a public speaker, like other people. I just have to be myself. And what I mean by that is, like, when you're growing up and you're doing public speaking, you have to stand in front of a classroom. You're like, you hear people saying, and you hear them saying like, and then you hear them, I don't know, looking down at the paper. And then you think of like, you have this list of all the things you don't want to do, which is that. And then you have the list of things you do want to do, as in keep looking at the audience, stand up straight, imagine if they were naked or something like that. There's all this stuff. And then when you're on stage, you're almost too busy thinking about all those things instead of actually delivering your message. Yeah. So I think one day, I think a lot of it is also just like, I have an attitude where I'm just like, fuck it, let's just do it. Like, throw me in the Shark Tank, I'll figure it out. And I think that's how I got into public speaking, which was just like, no matter what, I think I'll figure it out. Like, I know I'm an intelligent enough person where just throw me in there, I'll figure it out. And so I got into it, got more comfortable with it. And of course, the TED opportunity came along a few years after. And it was great. And it was such a cool experience because a lot of the people who spoke at the specific TED Talk that I was at, they came from a lot of different backgrounds. So there were engineers, there were like neuroscience people. There was Jim the MC, who's a very well-known Asian American rapper who was signed to Rough Riders shortly for a period of time. So that was really cool. They had people who were professional online gaming sportscasters in a way. And it was very, very diverse. And what I found the most intriguing from that experience was that the common thread between everyone was that we were all very passionate. No matter what, we were passionate about our work and our respective field. It's not like, oh, the engineer is any better than the artist or any better than the rapper, but we were just such passionate people in our craft, in our industry, that was one of the biggest reasons why we became, more successful in our respective fields. Gotcha.
And then going back to designing, like, I know it's kind of big, but like, what's your process when designing something?
For the cars, I definitely do a lot of research ahead of time because sometimes I don't come from the baseball community. So a lot of times I don't actually really know what each player might be about. And so, I got to make sure I do my research, learn about the player, learn about the team, learn about that period of time that they played and what they're most notable for each card. And so I kind of just jot down a lot of notes, and then I just start drawing. I start seeing if there's different phrases, quotes, icons that can help feed into, whatever it is that they're most well known for. And I draw everything out, I scan it, and then I kind of start composing everything all together.
Gotcha. What was your breakthrough project?
I think the biggest one, just being a regular girl from Queens, not really knowing anyone or anything.
Mm-hmm.
I think like my project with Anthony Bourdain really helped put me on the map. So when no reservations were still around, I was actually hired by Travel Channel to watch all of the episodes beforehand and actually create a specific poster illustration for each episode, which then they would release on Facebook and the community groups, and people could actually enter a chance to win a poster. And some of them were actually signed by Anthony Bourdain himself.
That's dope.
So this happened like 2011. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then going to the Tops 2020 project, how'd you get selected for that?
Honestly, I have no idea. They just hit me up, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'm down. Sometimes you don't know. Sometimes you just, but you know what? One thing I have learned is the streets are always watching. You have to be mindful of how you move, how you present yourself. Like, you never know who's going to call. The reason why they called you is because they've studied you, they reviewed your work. You know what I mean? It's not like, it's kind of like a chicken before the egg situation. So it's like, continue to just do great work, stay focused, be vocal, make sure your presence is known and it resonates with the type of work that you want to get, and it'll come. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you get rough months too.
Yeah. Which card are you working on now?
I've got a couple Mets players coming up.
Okay, cool.
Which I'm really excited about because I'm from Queens, New York. So I grew up riding the 7 train right by Shea Stadium all the time. So I still call it Shea Stadium. I refuse to call it Citi Field, but so I'm really excited to work on that because it's going to be my 9th card, and definitely everyone from my hometown has been like, "What are you putting out a Mets card?" Like, what the hell? So everyone's like.
What about? I know it's kind of hard, but which one has been your favorite so far that you designed?
So far, I like all of them. They all have a story. That's the coolest part. They've all had their own stories, their own challenges, their own, I have to be in the headspace of a story and telling a story. So they're all a little bit different. I think Mariano Rivera was my first one. And that one was also the most difficult one creatively. Because, the original card that the rookie card that I had to work with, it had nothing about baseball on it. He wasn't wearing a bat. He was standing under the field, the baseball stadium or something. He's wearing these very loose slacks that don't fit his body. And this was my first card, the first file. I'm like, hey, I'm going to work on Top 2020 now. Great. I open the file and I'm like, oh my God, what am I supposed to do with this? And so, I pitched to them just to make sure they were okay with it, Tops, to see if I can put him in the Yankees jersey, since that's what he's most well known for. And obviously the community loved that, which I thought was really cool. So that was I think the biggest win. I personally aesthetically love Bob Gibson. I think their original template that I worked with was really cool. Maybe it's the colors. I love that it was kind of a circle die cut. And I just felt like from a retro vintage graphic design perspective, it was really cool. Ichiro was also fun as well. That one took me the longest time-wise. I don't know why. It took me a very long time, and hopefully I'll never have to work on something that takes that long. And then Mike Trout, which is my most recent one, that one had the most stuff. There was just so much stuff in there. And also it launched right before July 4th weekend. So, and, you know, the Angels colors are also blue, or that specific card had blue, navy, red, and white. It was very American, and, you know, just wanted to give it that bit of love. July 4th, my Trout Angels team, and just kind of see how it goes. So I'm just excited for the rest of the year. And then I have a couple Mets players left to do, so it'll be really exciting to see how I can play with the colorways to be able to, I guess, bring out like the Mets and Yankees personalities from within each card design.
Gotcha. Is there any that you're excited to do other than those two?
No.
So how do they tell you which ones to do? Like, it just random?
They just tell you. They just tell you like every few weeks. They'll be like, "Oh, hey, it's this, this, and this," and I'm like, "Okay." Then I work on it.
So how many like weeks do you get to work on it, or days?
I think like every month. It's every month. You know, sometimes I'll randomly just get an email that's like, "Hey, here are your next few cards, and they're due. The artwork is due this date, and it's releasing this date." And I'll be like, "Oh, okay."
Oh,
So
okay.
it's super chill, and I'm, you know, I actually like working on them in different stints rather than all out at once.
Yeah. Has it got overwhelming yet? Because I know you started signing cards, and then I seen like I listened to Ben Baller's podcast, and he's just like stressing out over it.
You know, I've got a good assembly line. I've got, you know, a summer intern. I've got a project manager that's been helping me with the entire Tops project, and it's been freaking awesome. Like, yeah, it's a lot, but it's also really fun, and I genuinely, you know, I'm involved in this project more so than anything as an artist. So when Tops first hit me up, I was just so psyched to work on a body of work, like an entire thesis of 20 different illustrations that I'm going to work on. I'm like, shit, this is awesome. Like, it was just a cool prompt. So I know that the scope of things have evolved with the market and the signatures. I mean, I'm also in the Discord channels and the Facebook groups, and it's really new to me. And, you know, the fans, and I wouldn't even, I mean, obviously they're fans, but there's a community there. And I think we have one of the most highest engagement of Discord channels within the entire Project 2020 artists group. And it's just dope. Like, I think people just need something to look forward to. You know, like a lot of us are struggling. Like a lot of people here nowadays, because of the pandemic, the sports was already a really big part of their lives. Like my husband, I wake up to Sports Center every morning. Stephen A. Smith is yelling about something. You know, and then the other day I caught him watching football, and I was like, "Oh, is football back on?" Because I wasn't paying attention. He's like, "No, this is a rerun." Like he just like missed his sports. He's a big sports person. So I understand that, like, there's the baseball card community, there's the collector hobby community, but just people who love sports and they miss it. And it's, you know, $20 is a pretty good entry point. And I think people are just excited to have a community to resonate with, not to mention, you know, there's probably good resale value and stuff like that within that as well. But it's just exciting to be able to be a part of that and meet and actually have a chance to talk to people who are fans of my work. And I have an AMA channel. They ask me lots of questions about how I work. They have kids. They want to get their kids into drawing or all this stuff. So it's been really cool to be able to have that opportunity to really connect with you know, people who not only love my work, but they fully support it, which I'm extremely grateful for.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I think out of your cards, I think the Mariano one is my favorite, but I like the Mike Trout one a lot too. And that was definitely dope because I live with a lot of kids from New Jersey, and you put the New Jersey thing. So I know if he saw that, I don't know if he saw it yet, but he'll be pumped about that.
I mean, look, everyone's proud of where they come from. You know, like New Yorkers definitely more than ever. I've got so much love for New York. I actually have Queens tattooed on my wrist as well. So you definitely always want to rep where you're from. Yeah. And I think that's important. But definitely with Mike Trout, you know, when I was doing research on him, it was a big thing that he came from Millville, New Jersey, and I just wanted to make sure that was known, that was a part of his story. And I actually put the zip code for Millville, New Jersey in the card design as well, just just for people to know, like, it's like a, hey, here's where I'm from. Here's the zip code I rep. So.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that. But that's dope.
Yeah, that's the fun part. It's a little something for everyone. Like for the general masses, people who are, you know, specifically Mike Trout nerds or fans of his. And that's what I really love about the illustrations that I do, whether it's for Toss or other projects. It's, I think what, you know, the baseball card community calls it Easter eggs. If you know, kind of thing. And I've always appreciated that.
Yeah. Did you think it was going to take off like it has?
No, I had no idea. I just thought I was going to make these cute. I was just excited to work on the project, the body of work. I had no idea. I'm extremely grateful, you know, especially given our current climate of things. So, yeah, I'm honestly like always looking to give back as well. So like right when COVID hit, and I teach a lot in the small business space. I do like online teaching. I do workshops as well in social media, branding and productivity and marketing. And it was a really tough time right when COVID hit. I was impacted as well, you know. So I was lucky that government money kicked in to help keep my business afloat. And so I was actually working with Square Reader, to be able to work with their local small business owners all around America. Their Square, you help give them, be a sounding board for them in terms of where to go from here, because so many small businesses were so deeply impacted, and every single day counted. Every single day in terms of what they did was really important. So, you know, I think that was something that I'd love to get back into. Of course, like financial security is really great and comfortable and important, but I think I try to make sure I'm like giving back through the extra time that I might have now to focus on supporting other people.
Gotcha. What about when you finish all 20 cards, are you going to like put them in a frame or something?
Yeah, I think so. I'm working on that.
Okay. Yeah, I think that would be cool. All right. So these are the last ones. They're the average to savage questions. Are you ready?
Yep.
What's your favorite song right now?
My favorite song. Okay, well, I haven't really been listening to music too much, but my husband has been playing Pop Smoke's album or something. There's a bunch of Pop Smoke, so I'm like, I guess that one of the songs sound good. One of them with the Migos guys.
All right, I've been listening to that too. Who's an artist that you want to collab with?
On this project?
No, anything.
Oh, well.
Both. How about both?
Ermsey. I really like Ermsey's stuff. Like Ermsey is actually the main guy, which actually reminds me right now, I should check the Topps website. He's like the main guy that I actually buy personal cards from.
Okay, that's dope.
Dude, this Don Mattingly from Fucci is really cool too. I mean, you know, a lot of their styles are kind of similar to mine. I love this kind of like illustrative, creative hand style. So I'd love to collab on something with them.
And last one, what's something people don't know about you?
I was talking to my husband about it this morning. I yawn really loud. I got into just yawning really loud. I'm just like so into it. It's so like comfortable, releasing. So there's a fun fact.
All right, I'll take it. Well, I appreciate you coming on. Could you let the listeners know where they can follow you at?
Yeah, people can follow me on mainly Instagram on social. And if you want to see my latest projects, you can always check my website as well, just to get a better sense of my background and my work. It's all ESYMAI. I guess you can call it SEMI. It's actually just my initials, SC, it's phonetically. And then MAI is I am backwards. So it's really just I am Sophia Chang, but very reverse way of putting it together.
I got it. I was going to ask you how to pronounce that.
Yeah, SC, like my initials, Sophia Chang, my MAI.
I got it. Well, I appreciate it, and I look forward to the rest of your cards coming out.
Awesome. Yeah, keep me updated. Love to share this podcast when it comes out as well.
Yeah, for sure.